All right, welcome to Best of the West. I am Stephen Willis alongside Jake Thomas. He's sitting in now. We just had Kevin Bohannon, and now we have Jake Thomas, and we're going to talk a little bit about the Western Division of football. Some interesting games happened last week. Some interesting storylines broke this week. So we'll talk about that for about 15, 20, 25 minutes and get you ready to go for the weekend. How you doing, Jake?
Doing great, man. I finished up my work week today. Wife and I got some family's gonna go on vacation this weekend, so just get away for a little while. It's gonna be great.
Yeah, I could actually use a vacation. Tomorrow night, though, we're going to hit Hollywood Studios and do Rise of the Resistance.
Wow!
Yeah, that's one of the benefits of being an annual pass holder, living that
Right.
lifestyle. We just decided we wanted to go ride that ride, so we're going to do that tomorrow night. So we're pretty pumped about that.
Sure.
Yeah. Best of the West, we had separation Saturday. We had Ole Miss versus Alabama. We'll get that out of the way first because we have Mr. Alabama over there, and you can read our hats and tell exactly how that went. What did you think of that game? And I'll tell you what I thought of it.
Honestly, Ole Miss come out and that first drive, I was like, my gosh, this is going to be like a Johnny Manziel type performance from Matt Corral because they converted, I think, 2 or 3 fourth down conversions there leading up. They had an amazing catch on the sideline there that the guy kept both feet in, and then we just couldn't stop a guy out of the flat. When you threw it out there on that fourth down play. And I'm like, man, this is going to be a slobber knocker. It's going to be a shootout. Then Alabama got the fourth down stop. Then we scored a touchdown. Then Ole Miss had a four down and out. And I was like, man, okay, time is kind of changing here a little bit. I did not expect what happened Saturday, to be honest. I thought Alabama was going to win, and I thought they would actually cover like I talked about. But it'd been like just some late touchdowns, garbage time touchdowns. I thought that's when they would have scored a couple of late touchdowns. I did not think they would get out to, a 28-0 lead at halftime. I did not envision that at all.
Yeah, certain people that look at this from a program level and certain people that look at the game level are going to see this game completely different. The way I see this game is the fact that you got Alabama's absolute best. They changed what they normally do, and Alabama doesn't change for anybody.
Right.
They went back to playing murder ball because that gave them an advantage because they were legit scared about getting into a track meet was going on. And that worked because Ole Miss got the ball the second time with like 2 minutes to go in the first quarter.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the lead up for the game, everything's going on. Ole Miss did what they need to do. They need to poke the bear every year. No pun intended. But you need to do that because you want their best. Because you might lose this game by 21. Next year might be by 14, but when you beat them, nobody is going to be able to beat you. That is just like a galvanized moment for you've reached the top of the mountain. This is how you get there. But you do that by getting the absolute best from Alabama. Not the team that is expecting to roll all over you because they just beat you the year before 66-3. This was absolutely the best of Alabama. Ole Miss will not play in a bigger game, maybe in the next 5 years, is with the way Brian Denny looked. So I'm actually impressed. I walked out of that game going, okay, we made some stuff. We didn't execute. We didn't actually play very well on the line of scrimmage. So if you look at a game level, yeah, there's some stuff that they can do. But as a program level, that's absolutely what they wanted.
Absolutely. I mean, you're going to get Alabama's best each and every week, but you are correct. We did kind of change our philosophy offensively. Early in the season, we was trying to get Bryce going early because he's the next guy up, and we're talented on the outside with receivers, Billingsley and Mechie, and we really didn't have a true running back, that has played in, Brian Robinson's made some game appearances, but he's not a Najee. So, I don't think we was trying to establish the run early, it just wasn't working. But in that game, it absolutely worked. And I guess Saban was like, okay, we've got to run the ball if we're going to beat Ole Miss. and I guess they bought into it. And they run the ball really well. I was surprised to see that.
Yeah, if you give Nick Saban a year to prepare for your offense after what he went through at Oxford last year,
Yeah,
it's going to look different. It just is. You're not the GOAT for no reason. So
right.
it was pretty good. All in all, I'd like to see Ole Miss. Like I said, Lane kind of panicked a little bit at the end of the second quarter. It was 14-0, and it became 28-0 just like that. And from that, the game was over. But it was one of those things. Next year when they come to Oxford, Alabama might win the game, but is it a 10-point game? I
It
mean, you
could
have
be.
their attention. Yeah, I mean, that's what you're trying to do. Also, LSU made, let's see, they made Bo Nix look like Johnny Manziel.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, and I didn't think that was possible.
No, I mean the way Bo Nix has played this year. I mean, really, honestly, Bo Nix has had one that people say one good performance. That was his freshman year against Alabama when he led. But his stats in that game was like 15 to 30 for like 150 yards. So I mean, honestly, Bo Nix is just an average quarterback. But LSU made him look like you said, like Johnny Manziel. He was breaking tackles. They couldn't tackle him. He'd get out of tackles. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is ridiculous. Now there's a lot of hype again at Auburn that hadn't been there in the last couple of weeks, especially after a few weeks ago when Georgia State should have won that game, but SEC officials got involved there with that missed pass. But anyway, so I still think if moving forward, TJ Finley's got to get on the field because I think he's their best option, even though Bo had a once in a lifetime performance last week.
Yeah, I think Kirby is going to chew up Auburn a little bit this week. I mean, his defense does very mean things to pro style offenses,
Yeah.
and this Auburn offense is just tailor made for what he does best. So I think Bo Nix is going to get chewed up a little bit by that Georgia defense, and I expect them to win fairly easily. So you might see TJ Finley starting the second half of this game because this is one of those games that Bo Nix could start 3 for 17, and it wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, the only thing I worry about, of course, it is at Jordan Hare, and they got Auburn Jesus. I mean, all that crap down there at Jordan Hare, it's like a miracle happens down there.
I refer to it as the golden horseshoe up their ass.
Yes. So, anything can happen down there, but I believe you're right. Georgia may struggle at times because Auburn's got a really good defense. But all in all, I think Georgia will probably win by at least 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, and Auburn's defense, people don't realize this, but Derek Mason was the original drop 8 guy like Barry Odom and John Haycock. He was like a spread master, and he could shut down Oregon with what he was doing. So there's a little bit of that in what he does. So you could see Georgia again try to play bully ball with Stetson Bennett and all of that, and it could be a little bit of trouble for Auburn. I'm interested to see what it looks like.
Absolutely. It's going to be a good game probably for the first quarter. Then after that, Georgia's just going to roll them, I think. Georgia's a monster this year.
Yo, yeah, I think 4 teams have given up less than 1,000 yards in their first 5 games. Georgia is the 4th team to do it. The other 3 won the national championship.
Mm-hmm. Yep. It's a collision course happening for the SEC championship game for sure between Alabama and Georgia, and it's going to be great to see because if that happens, we got something special right here on this show. Not on this show, but in this network right here that we're going to share with you guys. So we're looking forward to it.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out for that also to have you and Corey on there, and also get Kevin and me and all that, and just do like a 6 or 7 box on there.
That would be amazing.
And we'll just talk about SEC football and the SEC championship game for a couple hours, and it'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, it'd be like the best of the West versus the beast of the East. Maybe me and Kevin. Of course, Kevin may turn on me, and like he did against the Ole Miss game. But maybe he'll be on my side, and me and him point out why Alabama's going to win that game, and Corey and Craig will be talking about why Georgia's going to win. So it'd be fun. Definitely.
We're talking about that game already, but
right.
the SEC championship game, if it's that, Alabama, I don't think will be able to do what their magic dust was against Ole Miss. I think that Georgia has the athletes to match up with them physically. So this could be an old-fashioned, and I'm not even joking about this, like an LSU Bama from 2011 game. It could be like a 9-6, and everybody's like, "Whoa, that was amazing!" But if you look at the scoreboard, it's like, "What happened?"
Yeah.
It has a chance to be a classic because there are two teams in college football. There's Alabama, there's Georgia, and there's everybody else.
Absolutely. Right now, it's like you said, that's the two top dogs, and they're both from the same conference. And it's interesting because I really truly believe that. And if you made a point last night on SC After Dark, if this is the year that they go to 12 teams, you could almost potentially see 3 SEC teams, depending on how Ole Miss finishes the year, maybe Arkansas, potentially Kentucky. I mean, you may have 4 SEC teams in the top 12.
Yeah, if this year was 12 teams, how much would you like to see Coastal Carolina play Michigan? That'd be an awesome game. I mean, whether or not they win or lose, that would be like their BCS,
Right.
Coastal Carolina. And Cincinnati going up against Penn State. They've already taken down Notre Dame. I mean, I think it would be very interesting as opposed to what is going to be a very boring semifinal round, just lining them up against Alabama. When you could have 5 through 12 play and then 1 through 8 play, and then all of a sudden it goes down to the semifinals, and it could look pretty differently. But this is the year, honestly, with the SEC, I think there would be 4 teams potentially that could fit. I just don't know. I mean, I'm not, and that's weird that I'm not even counting the fishing hole school.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. If you say anything negative about them, they want to get you disappeared, feed you to the Gators.
Yeah,
That's absolutely. We'll get on that real quick. LSU and Kentucky. Kentucky does not have a great offense. LSU does not have a great defense. LSU has a couple of weapons on offense. Kentucky has a borderline elite defense.
Yeah.
I think Kentucky wins a low-scoring game, but it takes something weird for them to win, like a blocked field goal return for a touchdown, because they just don't have the offense to pull away.
Yeah, Will Levis turned out to be, like you said, King Trill. He, the first game he looked amazing, and there was like, oh my gosh, we have this dynamic offense we ain't had like under Terry Wilson we had the last few years. And now he's just gone. And they've been doing the same thing. Of course, I understand when Rodriguez is getting like 200 yards a game, you might as well just feed the beast, as they call it. But eventually, you're gonna have to pass on some people because usually when you get down in the game, you don't keep running the ball. You start passing and try to catch back up. So I just don't see them being down against LSU. They may still be on a high a little bit from the win last week over Florida, but I think eventually in the second half they'll wear LSU down and win that game.
Yeah, LSU has Kentucky this week at Kentucky. They're 16th ranked. Next week they have Florida I think that's in Tiger Stadium, but that's Florida. The week after that they go to Ole Miss. The week after that they have Bama. And after that they have Arkansas. So this is the murderer stretch, and if LSU's not careful, they're going to come out of this like 3-5, 3-6.
Oh yeah, for sure. Couple of guys at work, we was talking about this exact thing today about the scheduling that LSU's supposed to run into. But one of my coworkers made a good comment. He said, "Think about this though. What would happen if Florida goes into LSU and gets beat? Whose seat's more hotter at that point? Is it Dan Mullen's or is it Ed Orgeron's?"
It's Ed Orgeron's because
I think so too.
Yeah, right now at LSU things are just ready to go nuclear.
Yeah.
It's just bubbling up to what's like, whoa, this going on. Dan Mullen, it's got the fringe people that's like, hey, why are we doing this? Why are we losing to Kentucky and everything's going on? But not the main guys. The main guys are starting to turn on Ed Orgeron, and he might not last another week or two.
He might be gone Sunday night. I mean, after Saturday. who knows? But I mean, if they're already talking about in you know on the newspapers and stuff down there about wanting to hire like James Franklin and have a couple other names going, for potential coaches, it's not good at all.
Yeah, yeah. I like the idea of honestly of James Franklin at LSU. I think he'd do a fantastic job. And
That's
honestly,
interesting,
what happens? James Franklin going to go out to USC.
right?
Will LSU make a run at Urban Meyer and Nick Saban this in the pros? I mean, who knows what's going on? And
I
I
know.
don't think you can run with.
He loves their investigations because they have them in football, they have them in basketball right now,
Oh,
so so they
yeah,
love it, those investigations.
yeah. The NCAA built a office in Baton Rouge this week. Mississippi State has a bye.
Good for them.
Alabama. Let's do it. Alabama and Texas A&M. This is a game that CBS wanted because this was supposed to be Texas A&M's year to
Right.
actually compete and stand up, and they have just fallen flat on their face. They are the losers of back-to-back conference games going into the Alabama game. That Alabama game looks unwinnable. It's going to be just CBS taking a bath, and Texas A&M has a chance to compete with LSU for potentially the bottom of the West because Mississippi State's getting their act together.
Yeah, yeah. This is definitely interesting because all the hype, like you said, at the beginning of the year was A&M could challenge Alabama this year potentially for the West, and now, I mean, the line opened up at 18 and a half, I believe. We talked
Mm-hmm.
about that last night. And that's crazy in their own house. I mean, they're 18 and a half point underdogs at their own house. So it could get ugly because right now A&M cannot score. Now they still have a really good defense, but they can't move the ball to save their lives right now. So it could be like you said, murder ball out there. The 12th man this weekend. I'm
Yeah,
sorry to say that, but yeah, it's gonna get bad probably.
yeah, it's like a spread offense version of Jim McElwain at Alabama. I've been saying that for weeks, but finally getting that little reinforcement is pretty great.
Yeah.
Uh, I think that during the script, A&M, whenever they just play football, they've been pretty good this year, but they've gotten murdered in the script. Like
Yeah.
Arkansas got them right at the beginning of the game. The scripted plays that they were able to get through, missed tackle, boom, touchdown. And I I think that Alabama is going to simplify this so much they're going to want to play the game in the phone booth, and Texas A&M might be in trouble. Also, Mike Elko should be, I'm not going to say fired, but he should be severely reprimanded for trying to man cover Mississippi State last week. That was an
Yeah.
ego thing. That was an
It
absolute
was.
ego thing because every play Mississippi State runs is a man beater.
Right.
So yeah, just drop eight, be patient. I mean, even Ed Orgeron was able to do that in Starkville.
Absolutely. I did not understand the game plan defensively last week for A&M. Because I mean, like you said, you're gonna get beat man to man every time by the air raid, so call it. So there's I asked you guys last night, and y'all made your comment on it, and I agree with you guys, but I don't see um, Jimbo getting fired because they can't pay him. I mean, he's got weight. So I mean, they're invested in him. Now they may be better next year, maybe or here in the next couple of weeks when King comes back. But I just go back to that Colorado game when I mean he was the quarterback and they still struggled to for the first half
Mhm.
to move the ball. So I think they have some issues there. So it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out.
And statuesque quarterbacks do not do well against Bama traditionally.
Hmm.
If
You
they
got to
know
have
where you're going to be, I mean,
yeah.
Will Anderson's going to hunt.
Yeah, you've got to move. You've got to move that pocket around and
Mm.
get outside the pocket and run if you have to against Alabama, because that's our weakness. Is a spread quarter, a fast quarterback.
Mm.
We kind of controlled Matt Corral last week, but he still got his dues and moved the ball. Especially, I think the first series that y'all had in the second half, he just drove right down the field. So it was, I was like, well, here comes Matt Corral. But yeah, you've got to have a mobile quarterback against Alabama if you're going to have any success.
Yeah, the best thing y'all did against Matt Corral was keep him off the field.
Hmm.
I mean, that was
Yep.
that. Like I said before, that absolutely amazed me that Ole Miss's scheme and system actually made Saban go back to basically his roots to play a different way. That was
Absolutely.
very interesting to me. And
Absolutely.
what other games do we have? Missouri, North Texas. We don't need to talk about that.
No.
And Missouri looked terrible against Tennessee, by the way.
Yeah. We can
Just
talk
just
about the
awful.
we can talk about the Red River shootout real quick.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to this game. Oklahoma's like a 3.5 point favorite. Don't take it. They haven't hit a line all
I
year.
know. No. No.
What I learned is the starting quarterback at Texas is Casey Thompson. That is the son of Charles Thompson, who was one of Barry Switzer's last wishbone quarterbacks.
Huh. Interesting.
Yeah, so he's an Oklahoma guy. His son's playing at Texas, and I was like, okay, that's interesting,
Yeah, it
because
is.
Charles Thompson was the guy that followed, I think, Jamel Holloway whenever they were really working with the wishbone back then. And also on ESPN Plus right now, if you're interested in it, Eli's Places, they have a segment with Barry Switzer talking about the wishbone.
Huh.
And they also have Steve Spurrier talking about the fun and gun and things like
Right.
that. This week's show was a little bit scheme based, and it was kind of cool to get in the weeds.
All right. I'll check that out.
Yeah,
That's pretty
yeah,
cool.
yeah. Eli's Place is legit. It really is. It's a really good show. But I think that's all the games, man.
Pretty much. Pretty much.
Yeah.
I think Texas going to that the Red River shootout real quick. I think Texas has a legitimate chance to win that game easily. No.
Yeah, Sark is from the Lane Kiffin tree of finding a weakness in your defense and exploiting it over and over and over again. I don't know how Alex Grinch is going to be able to hold up with that. It will be up to that. But the Texas defense this year has kind of struggled, but they will be so up for this game. I'm only concerned that they might be too up, but we'll see. I'm
Yeah.
taking Texas in this game, and I think they're going to cover.
I do too. And it was funny, how the season continues to play out because they looked awful against Arkansas. Arkansas made them look like straight up trash, and now they're getting their act together. And I mean they're going to be contenders, in the Big 12, here. And I mean you take out Oklahoma, you're right there.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I'm looking forward to this weekend and enjoy Best of the West. Next week, Kevin will be back on Best of the West. You won't have to deal with me. But for Jake, I'm Steven. Thanks for watching, and have a good weekend.